Let's talk about spiritual burnout. And I don't know whether that's the most appropriate word to use for it, but we're going to talk about this today. Moments where you just can't keep going for one reason or another. So let's talk about that. So I'm not sure if spiritual burnout is the correct word to use for this, because burnout really implies, that you've completely exhausted all of your options, and I'm not certain that's the appropriate kind of way to describe this, but we'll talk about this a little bit today in a way that's hopefully understandable and relatable to you. But before I do that, the best way when you're in a spiritual burnout, or you're not doing, or a big change has happened inside of you and you're not able to get onto the mat, is to begin breathing practices. So there's a free one down below, and there's also an argument for, when these things happen, getting some guidance, because sometimes what we don't know, isn't it? And sometimes it's good when you go on a journey to get a guide, or at least a map, isn't it? And so at the moment we're offering a 6-month immersion training. It's the program that will bring structure to your path. The spiritual journey is not woo-woo, it's systematic. You go step by step by step. It's a blueprint, and I can offer you that blueprint, at least from my perspective, thanks to my teacher and my experience on the journey. And so you can apply for that down below. The application form is free, but the coaching itself isn't free. Back to the video. Spiritual burnout. What does this mean? I think there's 3 occasions when we might have a spiritual burnout, and I must thank somebody on the YouTube for bringing this question to me. I believe her name is Lexi Catherine, and she says she's experienced a spiritual burnout because sometimes she gets a lot of momentum behind her practice, but then things change, a big shift happens or something like this, and maybe not necessarily perceived in a positive way. We might have a mental some mental fear, or some mental perhaps depression or sadness or something like this that pops up, and our practices just go because we think it's time to take some time off. In fact, these are the moments when it's time to get back on the mat and remind yourself why you're doing this. It's always good to come back to the question of bhakti. Bhakti means your desire to open and grow. Really the question is why on earth am I doing this? Why am I going to get on the mat when I don't want to? Because when the why is big enough, the how doesn't matter. So, the 3 times when spiritual burnout are here. The first one, the most authentic one, I would say, is when we've done a lot of work inside of the system and there needs to be some time for integration. In these moments, you will not be able to get on the mat. The energy just will not take you there. Now, there's a big distinction, and we should trust that, sometimes it is appropriate just to take some time off, just to let all of the lessons and stuff that we've learned from these powerful experiences that have come about because of sadhana, our daily spiritual practice, and to integrate them into the system. These are times when it's great to just chill out, like take a week maybe or something, perhaps, and go to the woods and just enjoy it, go to the beach and just enjoy yourself, keep yourself, in the right way, don't go overboard with too many naughty things, but to allow a moment of processing for the nervous system so that we can absorb all of the knowledge and integrate it into ourselves that we've learned from our last bout of sadhana. Now, Lexi mentions that she's able to stay focused for 6 months or so before something happens, like a mental, what's the word she used? Let me have a look. Yeah, really bad mentally. So what does that imply? That means the mind is getting a bit too much for us. It's becoming really negative. And this is part of the journey in a way, isn't it? Because that's what we're here to uproot. That negative mentality inside of ourselves, or what we might call negative ego, the thing that tries to keep us small and comfortable, when in fact everything that we want is just on the other side of fear. Now, on this journey, we're becoming really strong. aren't we? Because we keep pushing past that boundary of fear. We keep volunteering ourselves to dive into crazy things that perhaps we never thought we'd be able to do, only for us to be able to do it and then go, oh my goodness gracious me, wow, look how powerful I am. But this is the path, isn't it? So this second type then of the spiritual burnout is exactly what Lexi's describing, when the mentality goes. That doesn't necessarily mean laziness, but it can. But it's when, for example, the mind starts becoming overly negative, and it will convince you every which way that your bad habits are the way to freedom, when in fact we know they aren't. Our bad habits and indulging in them lead us into deeper and deeper bondage, and then we find it very, very difficult to get out. It's then very, very difficult for us to remember our previous discipline. Let's say we've done a stint of 6 months of really powerful work where we're doing some work in the morning and some work at night. We've got 2 sections of sadhana in our day, and this is the best way, isn't it? Well, if we then take some time off, which might be appropriate, but it might just be the mind convincing us that it's the right way, and that's fine too, because it's part of the journey. You're not getting anything wrong. We just learn, don't we? But then if we engage in bad habits, especially like drinking alcohol or something, then our breath will change as we get back onto the mat, and we won't quite have that same flow, and the body might be quite inflamed anyway because of the inflammatory diet that we're eating. My word, I know this in me. And so it can be very hard to get back to the same level of consistency that we did before. That then takes real focus. Now, the third type of spiritual burnout, and this one's really important because I have a few clients going through it at the moment, is, I would say, when a big dark night of the soul begins to start. And we only tend to really go through, at least from my experience, one soft dark night of the soul and then one really big one. I don't want to create fear in you, because don't worry, it's not so bad. You know, it's the best thing that could ever happen to us, because it's setting us free from these reoccurring painful things that we're here to heal in the first place. But when we're first on the journey, we don't know or recognize the dark night of the soul for what it is, and so we start feeling a shed load of pain in the system, and we go, oh God, what have I done? This yoga's not for me. I didn't know I was going to be led here. I'm out. I'm not having this. I didn't sign up for this kind of pain. This isn't what I'm about. It's not what I'm here for. I don't want it, and I don't like it. Now, in these moments, it's not really a burnout, it's more of an avoidance. We might stop the yoga completely. And fair enough, fair enough, isn't it? Because we've never dealt with pain like that on a level like that before, and it's akin to a really probably serious depression, and so we panic and we run away, just like the ego loves to do, isn't it? The ego loves to run. But life is calling you here to make you strong. You've done the hard work at the start to get your consistency up, and then poof, bouts of emotion come to throw you. And they will throw you, and that's okay that they do. But it's these moments we recognize the real work starts. This is where strength, that iron mentality, is forged in the fire of the awakening, or the fire of the dark night of the soul. This is where it isn't really a burnout. It bloody feels like it, I know that. But it isn't really a burnout, it's a challenge. It doesn't feel like that. But the only way out of an experience like this, unfortunately, is in. You've brought yourself this far, and now this pain isn't going to go away. But the great thing that I used to teach you to say is, this too shall pass. And it doesn't feel like it while you're in it, and you go, oh my God, enough of this fake positivity or whatever when somebody says this, and it's like, that ain't fake. It's real. When you're in it, you can't see the fog. You can't see the trees through the fog, can you? But this experience too shall pass. And so the answer here for us is, if we can we learn to enjoy the burn? It's a furious burn, that pain, I know that. Can we learn to enjoy the sensation? Can we be with it truly and meet it? And if we do that a few times, we might realize how spacious I actually am. These feelings or sensations, they arise in the larger spaciousness that I am. In fact, it's the spaciousness that's fueling it. It's our energy. isn't it? That's fueling these sensations. And it's just that we've got our energy flowing in a certain way for a very, very long time. And so as soon as we begin to try and change course of that energy, we come up against hurdles. And this is where we get tested. We have to be steely in a way so that we can stay consistent with our practice and not allow this burnout to take us off course. Not that that actually can really happen, but if we want to get this done as fast as possible, we must go in to get out. It's the only way out is in. I hope this helps. Good luck, Lexi. We're all rooting for you. Have a great day, guys. Namaste.